Hey, everybody, it's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. We're going to get started here in a few minutes. So if you have any questions, concerns, let me know up front before we get started. I just wanted to get on here so we could get started on time. We're running a few minutes late. I also wanted to double check. Y'all let me know about my camera quality. If you can see me okay, let me know if I'm like blurry or the internet looks like it's wonky, because StreamYard's doing something weird today, and I don't know what it is, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I'm pretty sure it's StreamYard. I don't think it's my camera. I tried 2 different cameras, so I know it's not me. But yeah, so let me know if there's anything wonky on my end, so I can try to fix it. Okay, so Andy says camera on point. Okay, good, because StreamYard has several different camera settings, and I'm on the lowest, so I want to make sure that it's okay. Okay, so other people are saying I look good. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a great compliment. Andy asks, what is StreamYard doing? Okay, so this is for the nerdy people. We'll get talking about Supergirl here in a minute. But so StreamYard has 3 different camera settings. So there's a 720p, and then there's a 480p, and then there's a 360p. Sometimes I've tried the 720p, but sometimes I don't have fiber internet in this location as of yet. Hoping to get it soon. But when I try to use the 720, which is the highest camera quality, it sometimes goes crazy. So I've normally been using the 480p because it's kind of right in the middle and it seems to be pretty steady. But the 480p, when I selected it today, it was like magenta. My camera was magenta. And I was like, what is this? So I contacted StreamYard to see what was going on. They might be trying something. Maybe updating something, but it's only on the 480p. Everything else seems to be okay. So if you're using StreamYard, just FYI, that is a thing that might be happening. So I'm assuming it's just, okay, so Donna says I look a little washed out. That may just be me. It may have nothing to do with the camera. Let's see. El Rainbow 3 says, hey, can't wait for the next episode and can't wait to hear what y'all thought about this episode. Personally, wasn't the greatest episode, but it had some good moments though. I actually agree with that, and we'll get into that. I wasn't thrilled about this episode, but one of my favorite moments from the Supergirl TV series, I'm calling it now. One of my favorite moments, one of my favorite scenes of the whole show happened this week. So we'll talk about that. So it's weird. It could be a real disaster of an episode, but a really great scene showed up. So it's kind of a toss up. It's a mix of good and bad. I guess we'll say that. Let's see. Okay, Donna says the whole picture looks washed out. Yeah, I may have to go ride this setting for a while. So hopefully it's not too terrible. I may hop over to YouTube and look at myself. Is that weird? I feel like that's weird. Let's see. I'm kind of vamping because Morgan's got to get in here. So I'm trying to get her to, when you don't podcast for like a month, you get a lot of practice. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to jump back into it. So very excited. Morgan will be back for this episode, for this live stream. Got some fun things to do with her right up front. So yeah, that will be something to look forward to. Let's see. Other questions. A lot of StreamYard questions. If anybody wants to know, I love StreamYard. I brag about it all the time, but for some reason my camera turned magenta today. Andy asks, did you see the new setting they did for saved broadcasts? No, I'll have to look into that. So I'll have to look at that. Oh, well, thank you. Ellen Rainbow 3 says you look wonderful and everything's clear. Perfect. Okay, let's see. Jen says, I'm guessing your favorite scene is the end. That might be a good guess. I may have watched it several times because I loved it so much. Okay, so it does look like we have Morgan. Morgan, welcome back to the live.
Hello. I've returned.
I'm sure you'd rather be on a beach, hanging out at a resort. So
I'd much rather be here in my dining room with all of you people. So I should have podcast it like from the pool, like that I never left in Mexico. I'd be like, hey, just like a margarita in hand, a little tipsy for our live streams.
I would not have let you do that. Although that would
Neither
be pretty
would
fun.
Mike. You would just shut it down.
That is okay. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and get started and jump into the live stream. And people in the chat, if you have thoughts, please share. All right, I'll get us started.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to discuss and review the Supergirl Season 6 episode titled Still I Rise. But before we do that, we need to catch up on Morgan's thoughts on the episode she missed while on her honeymoon. So what I thought we could do is I'm gonna prompt you with some topics, and then I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to talk about whatever you think about those topics. And you have 2 minutes to do it. I'm going to give you the floor. You can respond to them as you see fit. If you do have questions, though, I will allow a response for myself if you do want to have a back and forth about it. But after 2 minutes, that's it. So each topic is going to get 2 minutes.
Okay.
So this might get a little stressful. But I figured, bring you right back into podcasting after you were gone for about a month. So it's great to have you back. I know the listeners and the viewers are going to be really excited because I'm very excited to have you back. And so I thought, what better way to bring Morgan back into it than to time her thoughts and stress everyone out.
Well, I, as usual, waited until the last possible minute for to catch up. So I watched all the episodes last night, basically, and and then I got tired. I got really sleepy, and I was like, I gotta pause up the third episode in that I was like, oh, all right, I can't. I'm like sleeping through all of William's scenes, and it's bad. And so I finished this week's episode today. But they have all sort of ran together into like a fun Supergirl slurry. So this will be a fun episode for all of us. I'm going to be like referencing things that definitely didn't happen in this episode. Like, but the garbage monster was misunderstood, right? Like that was like 3 weeks ago, Morgan. Get with it.
Okay, well, that's okay if that happens. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to try to see if I can figure out how, because I know there is a way for me to bring this guy in. So let me try to do I have to take myself out? Let me see. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to go like this, because that is probably, I was hoping to have you full screen, but we can do it like this. So the numbers are really big. I didn't mean for the numbers for the countdown to be so big.
So
but
I
guess
frightening. we're coming in hot right away.
We're trying something new. so
you really should have put the 24 clock in the background.
I thought about it, and I was like, well, if I have to do the 24 clock, I have to do the 24 sound effects that go with it. But then I was like, we might get in trouble if we do that. So, all right. So let's start. We're gonna. I guess when the clock starts, you can say whatever you want to about that topic. It can be anything that you want, and you can ask questions if you want to interact with the chat during this time. You can do whatever you want to. But when it hits 0, we're moving on to the next topic. So you want to get everything out in the open while you got it. Okay. So. First topic, and you can go when the clock starts going. Okay, first topic, Kellex turning into Garbage Man. Go.
Chef's kiss. Just chef's kiss. And can I say that I called it? I called it when we saw that trailer and we zoomed in on that garbage man, and I said, he's misunderstood. He has more going on in his life. Maybe he's had a bad day. And you know what? Kellex did indeed have a bad day. And that was probably, for me, I don't think that this is a shock, the highlight of the last 3 episodes that I watched. Kellex the garbage monster. And I loved it. I was like, I can't believe I called it, that he was misunderstood, and that we were all just being too harsh about the garbage monster. What were his hopes? What were his dreams? I just liked having Kellex back. I liked that that her dad renamed him Oscar, because I like the idea of Jason Bear just kind of sitting around in his little outfit, but watching Sesame Street, a child's show, and being like, you know what? They've got some good stuff on here. This is Kara, they've got some good stuff. The man in the garbage can, he's saying good things. I just like the idea of Kara being like, have you called mom yet? I mean, you want to call mom, or you're just gonna still sit on the couch and watch Sesame Street? That's what's happening. So no, I loved the Kellex turning into the garbage monster. I thought that was amazing. I like that Kellex made it through that very trying experience and kind of came out on the other end and still managed to get negged by Brainy. He was like, Brainy, Kellex becomes a garbage monster, and then like as he's like almost dying, is like, you didn't mean the Roomba thing, did you? And Brady was like, absolutely, you useless piece of trash. The spinoff I want is Kellex and Brainy as like a buddy cop duo now.
All right, that's gonna do it for the first 2 minutes. Wonderful thoughts. I echoed some of them in the episode where we talked about that. So good thoughts. Okay, so next topic, and we're gonna go, and this is kind of something you touched on a little bit, but we'll go with this for the next topic. So, all right, I'm gonna say the topic and then hit the timer, and then we're gonna get to it. Okay, Zor-El solving climate change / going to Argo. Go.
Did he have to leave? Because as we've established, Jason Bear keeping it tight. And like, I thought that this was my gift for the final season, is that we were just going to have Jason Bear in it. And then he's like, oh yeah, I guess I probably should go see my wife. And I was like, Jason Bear, listen, don't look at me. Don't look at anyone else. Look at me. I need this. I need this. So I was upset that he left. But I did think it was really funny that he was like we joke about like how Supergirl always has to be like timely, but this was a case where I felt like the timely issue that they tied in made sense on like a story level from like what's been established, like not just on the show, but like DC Comics lore. Like, yeah, Krypton kind of exploded because of all like the kind of environmental issues. And he was like, guys, one of my favorite things is watching him go like, guys, like not to freak you out, but this planet legit is dying. And they're like, oh yeah, no, it's been dying for like a kind of a long time. It's not like a big deal. And he was like, what do you mean? There's garbage in the oceans. They're like, oh shoot, there's been garbage in the oceans. We just kind of clip the things with that come with the sodas before we throw them out. And then the fish not as many of the fish die. And he's like, that was like one of my favorite things. Is like every time that he was trying to be like, you have to change everything. And they're like, I mean, we're trying, not hard, but we are trying. And he's like, really? That's all we want to do here is just nothing? So that was really funny to me. So I was upset that he left. I did appreciate that they mentioned Allura at some point because I was like, are they having problems even though he's been in the is that why he was in the Phantom Zone? Was that like the doghouse that Allura
he did construct the Phantom Zone, so maybe she put him there.
And so maybe, I mean, we didn't know how he got there. So I hope he comes back.
All right, so that is our next topic. Great use of your 2 minutes. Okay, all right. So the next topic is Kelly's motivation to become Guardian. Go.
Okay, well, so I must say, I was watching the episode earlier today, and I was like, like her transition into Guardian, despite only going to have happened in like a handful of episodes, like, 10 episodes at the most, already more believable and makes more sense to me than James is, where it was like James spent seasons trying to convince people he was Guardian and then gave it up very easily. As soon as everybody was like, as soon as he had no pushback on being Guardian, he was like, you know what? It's not fun anymore is the thing. But like his camera got run over and he was like, that's it. I'm taking it to the streets. And you're like, why? Why do those two things go together? But hers is like, she's like, oh, I've been on the side of like the heroes and I've seen what it is like to be kind of like powerless in that scenario, and I like really want to help other people, and now I'm like a social worker and I see the problems like out here on the streets and like street level, and like I could really make a difference. I'm gonna hack into the systems. I learned that from Andrea Rojas. I learned that from doing all those tickets last year, and so I'm gonna really make a difference. And even in her training in this last episode, she was like, it made sense to me, like the way that she was using her training, and like how I can't get the move exactly how Alex wants me to, but I can use this, this clipboard to save this awful person. And like, I really like that the way that they're building her up. And also really big opening for the news got or news boy Legion there. I mean, if they didn't set it up, if that's not her happy ending, I don't know what is. Put a newspaper into those little orphans' hands and let's go.
If they don't do it, I'm going to take it as a personal attack.
Attack.
Next topic. Esme, the sassy foster kid that Kelly meets in the foster home. Go.
I love this. I love her. I love her energy. I think this really transitions perfectly into what I'm assuming that we're going to be screaming about for the next minute, which is they've really set up like the newsboy / news gal, like news child person, news kid Legion. They've set this up perfectly. Like maybe she helps them all get jobs and they're doing like a paper route, and then like they uncover some corruption. They realize like, if I just throw this paper, I can do it. But like we've kind of set her up as being like the Guardian, wink, 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 of this house, which again, I mean, they gave her even a better origin story for the name Guardian than they did for James. He was just like, I think it's like Guardian will be my name. And you're like, all right, James. And now you have a cute little sassy foster kid going, you're like our guardian. She's like, I like it. I like it, even though it was James's name, but I'm stealing it. I do also like that James like sent her his old guardian outfit, and she's like looking at it thinking, this will not do. We're gonna bedazzle this where everything will be gold. Gold is what I'm imagining. And I feel like Esme was probably the person who she later on we're gonna see in a future episode, she's gonna be like, this is my outfit, and Esme's gonna be like, no, it's not, girl. No, it's not. I don't like it. It doesn't flash. It doesn't pop. You know what pops? Gold. I'm 7 years old and I love gold. And I can see Kelly being like, you know what? Good thoughts. I like Esme. She was my favorite because of how she's like really focused on justice. You can't take her bread. That is unjust. And she will kill you for it. Like I like that energy.
Esme, the sassy foster kid. Okay, I had another topic, but I think we'll talk about it just in this week's episode. So we're gonna skip that one. So the next one is William Day's off-screen girlfriend. Go.
God bless. So I'm undecided. Is this like a situation where it's his girlfriend, but she lives in Canada, and you can't see her. You can't see her. No one sees her. She's really busy. No car. She can't come out for drinks with us because she's so busy. And she lives in Canada. I've seen her so many times that we make out all the time, but. Or I feel like I can't decide if they've decided that William's a bad love interest and they're just kind of put him into the Great British Bake Off and push him out to sea. Like put him on like an ice floe, but it's got like a soggy bottom and he just kind of goes down. No one notices. Or if they're like trying to set up like a situation where Kara is going to eventually be jealous and they're going to get back together. One of those situations is better. And I feel like you could probably figure out which one I think is better, but I do like that he met his girlfriend like baking, and now I imagine like every time he's in a scene, I want them to mention baking, and they've done it so far, and I appreciate it. And I want him to go like really hard into like a Great British Bake Off situation where like at the end of the show when they're doing like the little cards for everybody, like where'd everybody end up? Like. William's card is like he won the next season of the Great British Bake Off, and then you just see him with like a giant bread shaped like a Supergirl or something, and he's like winking, and then his girlfriend's next to him, but like he's just basically he just has his arm around some woman who's like, it's not me, I don't know this guy. But no, you know what? Good for him. He's found love, presumably, and she's real, definitely. And they love baking is the thing.
Okay, that is going to do it for William Day's off-screen girlfriend. All right, our last topic that we need to get Morgan's catch-up thoughts on. Lena investigating her family history and possibly going after her mother, who we all were told was dead. So thoughts on Lena venturing off to do some family ancestry. Go.
Well, I don't like that it means that we haven't had any Lena in episodes. That's been kind of tough for me. That's been tough for me personally. I don't know what she's wearing. I don't know how inappropriate it is. She's going back east, and I'm hoping that it's like it's cold there, but she only wears shorts. Like she's committed to always wearing the wrong thing at the wrong situation. They're like, why are you wearing a romper? It's 30 degrees out. And she's like, I can't feel it. But first off, when she said, she was like, I'm going to investigate my family history. I'm going to go back to, and I whispered, Ireland? and then she said East. And I was like, no, that's not where you're from. We all know you barely are doing the American accent anymore. Just let her be from the UK. But I'm interested in like where this is gonna like what is this gonna lead to? Because there's no reason to like do all this lead up and then like my fear is Lena comes back and she goes, my family's crazy. My great aunt Esther gave me a cinnamon roll and I went to a Wawa. And then like we never talk about, like, maybe it's like a crossover with Mayor of Easttown, and it's like
Yes.
she's like in the gritty Philadelphia suburbs, and everybody's asking her if she wants some water ice. And I mean, that would be a spinoff that I would watch. And if they're preparing us for that, I love it. I love it. But if not, they have to do something with this like family storyline, because otherwise, why is she gone and why are we spending time on it? So there better be some big revelation. I suspect it's going to be that her mother is not actually dead, because they're really pushing, like, she's like, okay, I've come to terms with my guilt and I'm ready to learn about her family. And then like all of a sudden she jumps out in a red wig. It's Katie McGraw in a red wig. She's like, hello, my child.
Just in time.
I did it.
Oh man, Morgan, thank you so much for humoring me. I thought that would be an easy way, easy for me, more stressful for you, to catch up on the last 2 episodes, since you weren't able to join us to talk about it. Wow.
I feel like I need like a Gatorade. I'm like, somebody pat me off.
The people in the chat really liked this format. We should maybe do this again.
Lightning round, opinions that are just strange.
So we'll maybe do that again in the future somehow. But yeah, so thank you for letting me pick your brain about the last 2 episodes that you missed. And I guess
I see. Actually, I have a comment from the chat, which is Electra says, according to an updated episode description, she's going to Newfoundland. Newfoundland. Which is actually very Irish. So I could be wrong. We could be getting some accents.
Is Lena Williams' Canadian girlfriend?
Oh my God. Twist. She just pops up at the end with like a cinnamon roll. And she's like, hello, sweetie. It's me. I think as my commitment to having Katie McGraw play every role in this show, it turns out that like Katie McGraw in a wig is William's off-screen girlfriend. She's got like a blonde wig and she's like, I love baking.
Yes. So good to have that update about I guess the location where Lena is going. We haven't heard much from Lena this week. We didn't see her at all, so we don't really know what she's doing. So I guess we'll find out in a coming episode.
I would love it if there's just an episode and it's just her like going around like talking to people, like trying to find out about her family, but there's like no A or C story. It's just Lena kind of hanging out, like getting to meet the locals. What would the locals think of Lena Luthor? Like she goes into the local watering hole and she's like in head to toe Prada and she's like, hello. Tell me about my papa and my mama.
I really hope we get to see that. I'm going to be really upset if we don't. But I guess we should get to talk, because we talked about the last 2 episodes. I think we should talk about this week's episode, which was called Still I Rise. So here is the official description. Quote, Supergirl intervenes when a building in the Heights that was set aside for low-income housing is suddenly at risk to be sold to a major corporation, which is definitely not ripped from the headlines whatsoever. Supergirl recruits Orlando, guest star Jaleel Swabi, to help her win over the city, but things go awry when Nixley shows up. Meanwhile, Nia trains with her mother, guest star Kate Burton, unquote. I want to start with my favorite aspect of this episode.
Let's do it.
Because, I want to start positively. There are some things I definitely did not like about this episode, but I want to talk about the thing I really loved about this episode. So, Morgan, what did you think about Nixley in this week's episode?
My new favorite character. I adore her. I love Nixley. I like her, like, villain energy. I think that the actress is doing a great job. I think that she's really good at playing manipulative and being like, oh no, I want to help you with the thing that I want to help you with. And like you can you could understand why people would buy her. Like, you could understand why, like, Nia bought into it and Kara bought into it, and Mitch, our good pal Mitch, bought into it. But like, you can always kind of see her, like, what that she's got a plan B going on behind the scenes, and like, it turns out like a plan C. And I like somebody with like a multi-layered, like, kind of a, like a multi-layered dip, but for her revenge schemes. I like that. So, like, this layer is my my seething hatred for you, Supergirl. And underneath that, there's a lot of daddy issues. No, I love Nixley, and I like that the way that they set her up in the Phantom Zone episodes kind of like gives her a little bit more weight in these episodes now that she's like a serious villain. Like, she was villainous in the Phantom Zone, but now she's like, we have that backstory and we have that kind of connection between her and Kara, where they kind of, I think Friends is taking it a little bit far, Nixley. I mean, I know you've been stuck in the Phantom Zone with some Rox as pals, but like, you and Kara were casual acquaintances at best, but like, they did sort of go through something together. And I think that you could understand her perspective, that Kara completely betrayed her. And so I think you can understand her, like, her motivation for revenge makes sense to me. And I think that's really important for a villain. Like, I love a good, like, just crazy villain, mustache twirling, but it always helps if there is like a little bit of like an understandable core to them. And I think that, like, they gave her that understandable core. They gave her kind of this backstory with her family that's messed up, and they gave her this complicated relationship with Supergirl now. And now they've built her up, and now they can unleash her on the world. And boy, is she doing great. I love her. I love her energy. That last scene with her and Supergirl was like everything I want this show to be consistently.
Yes!
Everything. I was like, yes, she's chewing scenery. Supergirl's upset. Supergirl's trying to like get out of this situation. I'm wondering, how does she do it? And then boom, she calls Mzia Spitalik. Like, I didn't see that coming. I kind of screamed at the end. Like, that's the most excited I've been in a scene of Supergirl in, I can't tell you, it's been a while. So I love what Nixley is bringing to the table. Honestly, I kind of hope she is the villain for the back half of the season, and like, just her. Let's not bring Lex back. Let's not bring Lex back.
Oh, please don't ruin the Nixley stuff by bringing Lex.
Because they're going to. They're eventually going to. That's fine. Maybe not until the finale. Not until the finale he can come out, and then they can just push him into a closet and close it.
I agree with so much of what you said. It was so frustrating for me for the most of the episode, and we'll talk about some of the housing storyline because it did get a little topical. But I was frustrated by a lot of that because it felt very forced. And then at the end, in that ending scene, it felt like the show was able to like be free and be creative. And I think the show for me has always been better when it leans into that comic booky side. There's two shows that are warring against each other. One is the political agenda show, and one is the, hey, let's have fifth dimensional imps causing trouble in the show. And those things have never really gelled together. And I think the show, I've always enjoyed the show more when it was like, oh, fifth dimensional imp has locked Supergirl in some sort of magical ice. That was exciting for me. That was so fun. And it was great because they made Nixley a really formidable villain for Kara. Kara was scared in that scene. You could tell she was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And I think that puts Nixley on a really high level for a villain. And it also gives Kara a chance to, kind of get out of that and become a better hero because of it. And I was trying to think of the fact that I have not been this excited about a villain in so long on this show. And I think it's because in season 4, the villain was bigotry. And season 5,
society.
And season 5, the villain was technology. And so there was no real like
the real villain
personal villain
is systemic injustice. It's like, I would love to. We would love to get rid of that, but can she punch it? Like, I think the problem is that the Supergirl, the show, doesn't seem to hasn't decided if it wants to go into like campy, comic booky, and just kind of have fun with it, or if it wants to be like a serious show tackling serious issues that are dealing with like the society is dealing with right now. And it's like it hasn't found a way to marry those two things. So instead, it just kind of feels like you're on a roller coaster of highs and lows and weird middles, and you're like, what's the tone here? Like, decide on a tone. And I feel like having watched those 3 episodes like back to back to back, I feel like I enjoyed those 3 episodes a lot more. And yes, they were all very topical, like very topical. But I feel like they, at least in the last couple episodes, have managed to get a decent mix of like comic booky stuff and topical. So it's like, yes, climate change, the world is dying, but also garbage monster. That's fun. And it was fun. I love the garbage monster. It was so on the nose that it came back around to being like comic booky and hilarious. And so I feel like they've been doing a better job at like meshing the things that they're trying to do, but it's still sometimes a little jarring. So like the stuff with Nixley is the stuff I want to see. It's like the stuff that we all came to see because it is a comic book show. So, okay, surprise, like we want the comic book stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to put a number on it, I would think it would be like 80% topical and then 20% comic book. And I wish it was the other way. Like, I wish that was flipped. To where it was majority comic book, because I got so excited about Nixley as a villain. I got excited that Mixie was, I almost said Mixley because I'm saying Nixley and Mixley.
I know.
So I got excited that Mixie was coming back. I was excited that there was magic on this show. So much of that was great. And I loved Nixley as a villain because the whole episode is Kara, Supergirl, trying to save this affordable housing unit. She's going to talk with council people. She's
using the power of Instagram Live.
Yes.
That stuff made me laugh so much as somebody who has to do like social media for my jobs. Like, I can't imagine a worse fate than having to do an Instagram Live. So I was like right there with her. I was like, oh girl, that's not gonna be good. But also they did it so poorly. I was like, really? So your whole thing is that you're trying to convince people of your side, and like all you're gonna take is like really combative questions saying that like you're doing the wrong thing. It's like, maybe you want to screen those questions just a little bit.
Well, and that was the show's way of like getting the other side in, making the other side all villains and all terrible people, which is kind of the opposite of what they were trying to make is the case. Like, you should listen to people's voices, and they were like, no, we're not going to respond to those questions on Instagram Live, because she hears those people and what they say, and then she takes off because something happens, and she doesn't even respond to it. And of course, that was because she needed to go save some people. But it's like, you're not even like, Supergirl wasn't even engaging with those people on the Instagram Live. But that's a whole thing. I was just so pleased with Nixley as a villain, because the whole episode was Supergirl trying to save that housing establishment, just trying to, making everybody feel bad about themselves and the choices that they made, and trying to save all these other people and like, their jobs and their housing, and, bringing families together. And then Nixley in a second knocked all that down. Like, she literally knocked it all down. It was brutal, but I loved it because it made her such a good villain.
Not the housing. She just went to a city council meeting and they are so boring. Like, I felt for her in that moment where she was like, I'm never getting that hour of my life back. Now it's gone. Great. Now I had to do an Instagram Live. I had to go to a city. Supergirl truly suffered in this episode.
She did.
She had to do some truly unpleasant things in this episode.
Yeah, so that ending scene made Nixley such a great villain, because she took everything that Kara in that moment cared about and she just destroyed it, just took it down. And so I really enjoy that. And I was just thinking about how like the last couple of seasons of the show, like they would do topical things like the, affordable housing and all of that. And then they would do the comic booky stuff. And the comic booky stuff always seemed like a better show. to me.
Yeah.
Like when in season 4, when Lex showed up, the show just like went up in quality. And in season 5, I'm trying to think what made it good.
5.
Season 5 though, it had,
You're like,
it
in
had
season 5, I'm trying to think of what was good there.
it had Hope the AI.
Hope the AI.
It had the Kara, Lena.
It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah.
Yes,
That was a great one.
That was very comic booky with Mixie. And so I think all of those things really elevated the show to make it better. And I just, when I saw Nixley like take down that building, I was like, this is what the show should be like all the time. And it's
just brutal. An entire episode about what I've always wanted more of on this show, which is National City real estate.
Yes.
And then at the end, the real estate just comes down. And in this market, come on. Also, in this market, nobody's aggressively bidding on an office building. Okay, so that was super unrealistic. They would be better off having it be affordable housing. People want housing. Nobody wants offices right now.
yeah. Donna says, "See, we do need a Supergirl Radio real estate person to tell us the value of that property." Yeah, I guess we could talk. This could lead us to talking about the topical nature of the episode, which is not something I really want to talk about, but I guess we'll get into it. But this was basically, I mean, it wasn't really creative. They basically just ripped this from the headlines with New York and Amazon. That's exactly what it is.
And did you know that gentrification is bad? Because I came in going, I think it's good, and then at the end I was like, oh, Supergirl told me it's bad. No, it was just one of those things where it was very, it was very high level. It was very like, I can give you the stats on recidivism rates, and I was like, listen, Supergirl writers, I'm sure that you can, and it seems like you're about to. But is this really on the flip side? I do like occasionally, not all the time, which is sometimes has become, but occasionally I do like the idea of Supergirl fighting an enemy where her powers are absolutely useless. And there's really no bigger enemy where her powers would be useless than a local city council meeting. Like she comes in and she's like, I have freeze breath and I can fly around the world. And they're like, I don't care. This is about zoning laws. And she's like, okay, what if I looked you directly into the eye and I told you to hope for something better? And she's like, I'm a politician. I don't have that soul that you're looking for. And so it was kind of fun to see, like, this is Supergirl's greatest enemy, local bureaucracy. And and so honestly, weirdly enough, like we've harped on the, Supergirl, like Supergirl is trying to do a rip from the headlines, but not great. And this one I didn't have that big of a problem with. And I think the reason was twofold. It was that the character in it had been previously established in the other episode.
You're referring to Orlando.
So I already cared about him, and I cared about his brother Joey. I cared because they intersect it with not just Supergirl's story, but also Kelly's story. So there was sort of two axes in which I like kind of got to know those characters. And so bringing them into this episode was smart, because otherwise it would have just been like Kara going, have you heard of this thing called gentrification? And oh no. But I think through the sort of the lens of like getting to know those characters and also kind of following characters, we see a lot of like Kara swooping in to save the day and then like swooping out, and it's like, can that dude get a job though? I mean, you saved him, but saved. And so I thought it was interesting to have her like kind of get into like more complicated things. Like, yes, I'm saving the day all the time, but like that doesn't always make everything better magically because I punched the garbage monster in the face and now climate change is over. So I thought that there was kind of an interesting approach to the idea of like Supergirl is really good at some things, and that stuff is, fighting Nixley and like fighting, world killers and things like that. And it's not so much like making sure that the city has affordable housing in their zoning laws, and like maybe Supergirl doesn't have the particular skill set required to change everything. And obviously at the end she magically got it done, and then of course it came down, so LOL JK. But I thought that there was something interesting in the idea, like she was trying to go about it in all the Supergirl ways, where she was like, if I listen, I know what's going to fix this, and it's going to be looking them in the eyes and giving them a hope speech. And she does it. And the council member is like, yeah, they just told you I've been working on this for years. That was what you thought a 2-minute speech was going to turn me around? No. Do you know how many interns I've thrown bottles at because of this project? I'm too far down the rabbit hole now. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting perspective, because we see so much of like Supergirl going, have you thought about hoping? And then people going, no, I hadn't. Shoot. I'm going to change everything about my life. And I like the idea of her going, okay, I'm at a council meeting. We all just have to hope for a better world. And they're like, yeah, no, we're still going to let Amazon move into this building because Amazon's giving us like $1 billion. And so I like the idea of like Supergirl not being able to Supergirl her way out of this problem. I thought that was an interesting perspective. And I kind of wish that the show had kind of had the convictions and had just not let the thing work. Like if it was still just going to be the Amazon building, essentially, like at the end of all that, even after they saved everybody, they were like, I mean, the zoning laws, and we're pretty far legally in with Amazon, and like we feel bad for Orlando, but like that would be like kind of more realistic and kind of shows Supergirl like not everything. The Supergirl approach doesn't always work with everything, but they did kind of. So I feel like they kind of copped out at the end when it was like the heartwarming story did work on most of the council people, just not blonde ponytail.
Well, I think they needed it to work in order for it to come down.
For it to be a heartbreaker when she'd spent like an entire day doing something, which for Supergirl, which for Kara is a long time. I've actually, because we haven't talked about like the last couple episodes, I have been enjoying seeing Kara go to work and show up for her job, and B, do some actual investigating. I know it's been a lot of like topical things like, for-profit prison is bad, and like climate change, my God. And now it's like affordable housing. We should have some. But it has made Kara do some research and like put some pieces together and be like, oh my God, was the nice warden not that nice? And it's been kind of refreshing to see, because we were promised seasons ago that she was going to become this investigative reporter, and it never happened. And so at the very least, these last few episodes, it felt like she's actually going to work. I don't know, like she had a change of heart in the Phantom Zone. She thought like she really thought about her life, and she was like, I should go to work more. And I feel like she's really putting in some effort now.
Yeah, she's carrying around stacks of papers, and she's sitting at her desk. She's
looking up stats,
and saying words like recidivism. She
really knows what that word is now.
She is really expanding her vocabulary. I do like the way that they used Kara, but I guess more specifically Supergirl in this episode, even though her entire day's work was destroyed in a snap. I did like that she did connect with Orlando. She goes to see him and talks with him and gives him the opportunity to share his perspective at the council meeting. I have always wanted something like that with Supergirl, because I think, we always see Supergirl saving National City or saving the world or whatever, but she's never like, I guess never, but is not the right word, but usually she's just saving the world with her group of friends, with her super friends, that she doesn't normally go outside of the normal cast. And so it's nice to see her connect with a citizen of National City, actually on a personal level, connecting with them and their story and trying to help them and improve their life, improve his life, I guess I should say. So it was nice to see that. It was something I've always wanted to see, but I hate that it was tied into some political nonsense. I really don't like it when because they just don't do it well. The writing, I thought, was not any good. They said stuff like, we need to, keep sharing things on our platform. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I will say the idea, the idea, I think, was good, right? Which was that, like, no one's going to listen to Supergirl talk about the, like, you know, the tough things about affordable housing because she's Supergirl and what does she know about it? But maybe they'll, you know, she can step aside and be like, I'm Supergirl and this is my friend Orlando. And he's like, oh God, okay, here we go. But the way that they went about it was very, like, heavy fisted. Like, we have a platform, and that platform. And the one thing I will give the episode that I'm going to give it props for is that they undercut that with some comedy, which was that insane PSA that Brainy and Kara do in the beginning. That's like, eat your vegetables, kids. And that made me laugh hysterically. Like, the idea, like, they came to the idea that, like, we have a platform and we can tell people, like, about important issues, but they started it in, like, the most crazy way ever. And I thought that was really, I thought that was, like, I liked the way that they did that. Like, they did kind of they layered in some comedy, they layered in, like, a good message. And then there was just, like, a really heavy part in the middle where it got, like, very, very, like, stare you in the face, like, hey, your platform. And they're like, oh no, God.
It just seemed to me like they had been given a list of talking points and they had to insert them into the script. And it just felt like they were copying and pasting, like, talking points. Like, that's what it came, because it's, especially in Catco when Kara was talking to William, I was like, Kara, talk like a normal person. You're talking about things like you've read this out of a textbook or something. Like, talk like a normal person. Normal people don't talk like this.
That made me laugh so much because she was like, I've looked up stats all day and now I'm not a person. I'm just a stat machine. Did you know that recidivism rate? And he's like, oh my God, please stop. He was I could see his soul leave his body and then go into the bake-off tent and make himself a nice, like a nice croissant. Like, he was gone. He was like, Kara, you have to stop talking about statistics. No one wants to see your pie chart.
Then that's what Andrea told her, and she was right. But yeah, I did like the stuff with Orlando. I thought the actor did a really good job with his big speech at the city council. I just thought it was interesting the more I thought about it, because it was like, okay, so Amazon or Koya comes in. I don't know.
Just call it Amazon. Amazon.
It's basically Amazon. So Amazon comes in. What about those people that have jobs? What about, in the real life scenario, there were like 25,000 jobs or something that were rejected. So what about those stories? What if those people had a sob story like Orlando? What happens to those people? So, well, I just thought there were, like, if you're going to tell personal stories, why only be one-sided?
I know. And I think that's why it's such, and I appreciated that they showed the people on the Instagram live, even though William was a absolutely terrible moderator. I think that William's mad at her for just taking off and is now just sluttily trolling her. Maybe him and his girlfriend from Canada, who's totally real.
Totally.
But like, they were like, we're really excited about this and it's going to make the neighborhood a lot better. And I think this is one of those issues that's actually, like, pretty complicated, which is that, like, yes, like, it brings in a lot of jobs, but as she mentioned on the show, like, often with these things, it prices out the people who then used to live in the area. And so it's a very, like, it's not, you can't do, you can't solve gentrification in a 40-minute superhero show. And so maybe you just kind of touch on it in a different way instead of, like, trying to be like, this is how we do it. We're going to solve it all. We're going to save this one building and everything will be great. It's like, will it?
Yeah.
So I appreciated that, like, speech with that scene with Brainy and Kara at the end, where Brainy was like, well, systemic issues aren't as easy as, like, saying a PSA about eating your vegetables, and, like, we just got to try our little bit at a time and just kind of, like, chip away at it. Like, we can't solve everything at once. And I thought that was kind of a fun Supergirl, because she was like, that's it. Today I've woken up and I'm solving gentrification. And you're like, Kara, oh God, no, you're not. Oh no. I think at least by the end, she was like, well, it's a lot harder to do stuff like this than it is to punch a garbage monster.
Yeah, and I'm curious how they're going to address this in the next episode, because I guess they will have to, because the Ormfeld building is no longer there. So what happens?
Orlando.
He is just out of luck. So I'm actually kind of, to your point, I'm actually kind of invested in Orlando and Joey now because
Me too.
I've gotten to hang out. And so I've actually liked this stretch of episodes because it is telling, a somewhat cohesive story. Like I can kind of follow it, from one point to the other.
And it's one of the things where I feel like Supergirl really could have, throughout its run, invested a little bit more in like making National City seem like a place where other people besides the Super Friends lived. Like briefly, we had Brian the alien, who was like a character that we saw occasionally, and then Brian left.
We don't know what happened.
Who knows? Brian. He's probably, based on the recidivism rate, I think that he's back in the clink. But
how many times can we say the word recidivism in this episode?
It's not even an easy word to say, is the funny thing.
So let's try to work that in as many times as we can by the end of this live stream.
But just like Kara, but I think like I think about some of the shows that I really love, and like the revolving cast of characters who just like will pop up because, if you live in a place, you'll see this person. Occasionally, you'll bump into them at the grocery store and you'll, see them at your favorite coffee shop. And it doesn't mean that you talk to them all the time, but they exist because they're a living person in an area. And I think about like, shows that like done that, like Parks and Recreations, where like there's minor characters. There's like the Perd Hapleys that like you're never going to get like, there's never going to be a deep dive on Perd Hapley, but he like exists in the world and they're going to bump into him. And I think that Supergirl had like a really real opportunity to do that and have like, Kara bump into people that she saved before in the past, or like, how exciting was it to see the little dragon again the second time?
Spike.
Yeah. And like, yeah, you get invested. It would be great to like, see Supergirl save somebody and then bump into them again later and see what's going on with them. Like there was really an opportunity to make this feel like, like a city or a world where like other people exist besides the Super Friends. And they kind of never did that. So I like that the fact that like Orlando and Joey's story has kind of continued over the course of a couple of episodes, because it's kind of like back in season 4, as much as we rag on it, when they did that flashback episode where it's like every May the city is destroyed and that's really plummeted housing prices and now we've lost our business. And it's like, yeah, it would be terrible to live in National City and like other people live there. And so like I like the idea of having like reoccurring minor characters that just kind of make you feel like National City is a real place.
Yeah, I'm curious if we'll get to see more of them. They also did this with Claude Knowlton's character Silas at the very beginning of the season as well. So they're trying a little bit of a new format by making these characters feel like real people.
And I appreciated that because in the, I think in the first episode back, when Kara has to sort of like address her trauma from the Phantom Zone, she's like looking at files, and one of them is about Silas, and that he was like one of the first, victims of the Phantom attacks. And I was like, right, that guy. I remember him because he showed up more than once. And and it's like, oh, and now he continues to exist. And as we've known on Supergirl, like sometimes major characters will just not exist anymore. Has anyone ever mentioned Maxwell Lord once again? Ever? No, because he didn't exist past season 1. like sometimes characters would come and they'd be big deals and then they would never be spoken about again. Like, I don't think that Alex has once been like, my ex-fiance Maggie. Like, not even when she was, I feel like not even when she was like starting to date Kelly was she like, well, I had this whole really, really intense relationship with a woman I almost married. Her name was Maggie. No, they're not like, once they're gone from Supergirl, it's as if they never existed. You're not allowed to say their names again. No one wonders what's up with Sam and that little girl.
Ruby.
No
Yes.
one wonders what's up with
I almost
them.
forgot her name because she hasn't been back.
No one checks in with her. and Alex almost stole that child. And so it's just nice to see them, like, minor characters come back occasionally and continue to exist.
Okay, so speaking of that, we did see Mitch again.
Speaking of, yeah, exactly. And I think, you know what? I would say, like, from a taking a step back, this is probably because of COVID, not because of any kind of like writing epiphany. It's probably that they like, because of the COVID bubble, just need to keep reusing actors.
I had a question about the blue skin. So Brady says the blue skin is not in use because of an image inducer. I think it's because of a budget cut.
Oh, yeah, I think it's a budget reducer, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think they have the budget for the blue makeup. But also, why would Mitch need an image inducer? He stays on that ship and he just kidnaps other aliens. So why would he ever need to blend in with the Earth population?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
So even in the justification in the show, I was like, I'm not buying that. I don't think you can afford the makeup anymore. I think you ran out of blue makeup and you don't have any money to buy anymore.
I was just thinking about all the like the. Did you ever watch Arrested Development?
Yes.
Tobias wanted to be part of the.
I blew myself.
Tobias wanted to be part of the Blue Man Group.
Do you hear yourself speaking?
Phrasing. But no, it was one of those things where I was like, wait, who's that supposed to be? He looks really familiar to me. And then when they were like, oh, it's Mitch, but he's not blue now because of the image inducer, I went, oh no, times are oh God, we're gonna by the finale is gonna be in a black box theater, basically, at this point.
Yeah, so I guess they have to save on effects and things like that.
Nicole's comment is there's only so much blue-green makeup to be used per episode. And they did, I guess, use up all their makeup on Brainy in that one scene.
Yeah.
For the PSA. And so there was none left for poor Mitch.
And you couldn't really do an image inducer there because you had to have his skin match the greens that they were trying to encourage people to eat. So Mitch now does not have blue skin. Okay, let's move on to talk about another set of aliens. I guess that's not a great segue, but Nia made a deal with Nixley, which debatable about whether that was a good idea or not. She did unleash a force of hell on Earth, is what her mother told her.
Not great.
Not a great thing. But so Morgan, what did you think about Nia reconnecting with her mom for 24 hours in the dream world? I almost said dream world and realm at the same time, and it came out as dream realm. So the dream realm, what did you think?
I liked it. I thought that it was they've really built up this sort of Nia arc where she's realized that, like, I don't know as much as I want to about my powers. I can stop a tsunami somehow, but I don't really know how. Which is funny because, like, we've been harping on like that her powers can do anything, anytime. And I thought it was nice that they brought back, like, she doesn't even really know what her powers can do. And the person who could have told her that was her mom, and her mom's gone. And so they've pulled that thread through the season really nicely. And so I think by the time you get to Nixley in her dreams going like, I can give you your mom back, like, it's not out of nowhere. Like, no offense, sometimes on this show stuff can happen out of nowhere. It's like, no one's mentioned that for weeks, and now Alex wants a baby again. Like, it's like they can pick things up and drop them pretty easily. And so I appreciate that they've kind of drawn that line through the season. And so by the time she's getting to making this choice that even she knows is like not the right choice, like that owl told her, and she was so mean to that owl. That owl was like, seriously, don't do it. And she's like, I can't hear you, wise old owl. So yeah, I thought that was really, I liked that they brought her mom back, and that they've kind of dealt with her issues with Maeve. And it makes me think that we'll probably have her and Maeve together in a scene, maybe even before the end of the season. We might have her, like, going home or kind of reconciling that relationship, because she kind of saw that these crows that were attacking her in her mind were Maeve, because she's never kind of dealt with those issues of like being the one who had the powers and running away from those responsibilities of having those, and like not wanting to address it. And so I thought that was really good. I liked the stuff with her and her mom. I think they've been doing a really good job with all the Dreamer stuff this season. And like, even like I think that was the last episode, but like that Nixley got stuck in her dream was ridiculous and made no sense, but I was like really excited about it for some reason. I was like, yes, Nixley, fight that owl. My favorite part was that like Nixley was like, first off, like this owl is attacking me, and you can tell that she's bad because she's attacking me. Like the owl, it's not me, it's the owl. That owl is a jerk. And I can't believe that worked. I can't believe she's like Mia was like, actually owls are usually symbols of like wisdom and you know and they're, you know, protectors. And Nixley's like, but that one's a jerk. And Nia's like, that one kind of is a jerk though, huh? like Nixley was just telling Nia what she wanted to hear, and Nia was like, you're right about that, but that particular owl, hate that one. Hate that one. But yeah, no, I thought that was interesting. And then I also liked, usually like the Mitch thing, some of the stuff where they're like, we can't use this because of the thing. But when they had Nixley come out and like immediately go like, well, I forgot to mention, we made this bargain and the bargain's sound. I did forget to mention this one thing, which is that like you're stuck in this realm where no one can get you for the 24 hours. I thought that was, it was a good way to kind of bottle episode her into her own realm. And then when they said, she's like, well, my friends will come get me. And she was like, like part of the spell is that your friends won't even think about you for 24 hours. And I was like,
they've forgotten you existed.
They've forgotten you. Their minds will go to different things like gentrification once they think of you. And I was like, you know what? That's solid. Like that is, you know, you saw the plot hole and you paved over it.
Yeah, just covered it up.
Baby. Good job. Good job. And I thought I really appreciated that, actually. I thought that was great. I was like, good job. I like that. I don't have to wonder why nobody's calling her up, trying to see how she's doing, because nobody can think about her. Like, once they think about her, they think about something else. Like, Brady's like thinking about her and he's like, broccoli.
Yeah, that was a good way to cover that up. So Ermgard says Nia needs to talk to her sister to get rid of the ravens. So what were your thoughts about the things that Nia was seeing in her dreams, like the cage thing and the ravens and the dollhouse and Maeve as a young child? What do you think all of that means?
I don't know. I'm not like super good at dream analysis. There's a lot of birds, and I think she's gonna want to steer clear of birds in the future, I think. No, I thought it was interesting though. Like she was kind of learning how to interpret the dreams by like talking to her mom, and realized that like a big thing that was holding her back is this unresolved thing that she has with her sister, and that her sister that represented the ravens. I don't know what the cage was about. I honestly was like, oh, I don't get what's going on here. But okay. But I thought it was really interesting. I like when they use her dream powers as like dreams that like she has to interpret. I think that's always more interesting to me personally than like when her dream powers, like she's like, I'm going to use my dream powers as like a dream handcuff or a dream whip, and I'm going to hit you with the dream energy. And I'm like, that's okay. But when it's like, I had this weird dream and now I have to interpret it. And what is it trying to tell me about the future? Like, that's when I'm really interested, because like, that's to me is like a little bit more of a like interest. It's maybe not as effective as stopping a tsunami with your dream energy, but it is a more interesting power to me, at least.
Yeah, I really like the stuff with Nia and her dreams and her trying to figure it out. I think she's getting better. I sort of buy the idea that she's getting better at it.
Yeah.
So I liked her mom coming back. I thought Kate Burton did a really, really good job with the things that she was trying to tell Nia and how she was trying to guide her through the process. I don't know that she taught her much, but she did, I guess, provide that emotional need that Nia had for the first half of the season to want to call her mom and try to ask her questions. And so she filled a little bit of that emotional need for Nia. And I think the Ravens and all of that, I think, is leading. I'm really hope if Maeve doesn't show back up, what a letdown. So
oh boy.
I think Maeve has to show up at this point. I hope that's where it's going. Just because for me, that part of Nia, that aspect of Nia's character is actually really interesting to me. The complication between Nia and her sister Maeve and the idea that Nia had the powers, Maeve didn't, and the complications that brings to their relationship, I think is really interesting. And it's something that kind of ties into Kara and Alex, but makes
I was
Nia...
about to say, yeah, it's kind of like a flip or like a dark side of Kara and Alex, right? Like one of the sisters has powers and one of the sisters doesn't. And what's the resentment there? And especially in Nia's case, where like Maeve always thought that she was going to get the powers and was like and prepared for it her whole life and actually did the reading. And Nia never did. And that she was the one. And so there's like a lot of like resentment there. And I think such an interesting relationship. And I've always been sad that they haven't gone back to it. So I'm excited that it seems like they are.
Yeah, because I'm hoping, and I never should get my expectations up for the show, because they're always kind of knocked down a little bit. But so I never tried to like need something from the show, because I don't know what story they're telling. But if it was me, I would probably have Maeve come back and help Nia with something, because Nia has the powers and Maeve has the knowledge. So I think it would be really cool if they made up and kind of came to a good place, and then Maeve helped her with, understanding her powers. I think that would be a cool way to end Nia's story on the show, but I'm not a writer. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but I really am kind of, I'm getting my hopes up.
And I think that'd be a good way
to
do it too, because the way that Maeve, like our last episode with Maeve, she like was kind of terrible to Nia at the end. She said some really hurtful, mean things. And so I think that like when Nia and Maeve reconnect, if they do, hopefully, fingers crossed, but like I'd like to see Maeve like make amends for that. I don't want to see Maeve still in a place where she's still mad about things. Like she's the one who should be apologizing to Nia. And so I would love to see them kind of like hash it out and talk about their relationship and kind of have it out, and then have Maeve help Nia, because Maeve does have this. Nia's been talking the whole time about, well, the only person who can help me is my mom. And really, I mean, the whole time, Maeve's kind of been right there. Like Maeve was the one who did all the reading. Maeve was, was reading up on all those dream books, and she was ready for those powers. She knew everything about those powers because she was pretty sure she was going to get them. And so, like, I think it's also kind of interesting the way they wrote it, which is like Nia was so focused on like the only person who knows is my mother, because I think in the background she did know that Maeve knew, but like she was just pushing that aside. And so I'm interested on like what the symbology of like the crows being around that bird cage, like what was the bird cage and like what's gonna be inside now that she can get to it. I don't know. I'm not good at dreams. I didn't read any of those books.
I did like the symbolism of Nia having that glowing orb, because I don't know if it's obvious or not, but I thought it was representative of the powers. So the glowing orb, it was the powers, and Nia had it. And Maeve wanted it. So Nia was like, oh, sure, I'll give it to you. I want you to have it. And when she did give it to Maeve, Maeve was taken over by a bunch of light. And we know from the comics that Nuranal's sister, Missa, is the White Witch. And she's kind of bad sometimes. She's like kind of a Legion of Superhero, but she's also kind of bad. So it could have been showing that like if Maeve had gotten the powers instead, she could have taken a dark turn. So maybe it was good in the end that Nia got the powers instead of Maeve. So I thought that was actually for an episode that was like so on the nose about everything. I loved the dream stuff because it made me connect the dots in some of those instances, and I really liked that. So I just think at this point, if you're doing this stuff, Maeve has to come back. It just has to happen.
I appreciate when the show gives us enough that we can have a discussion and be like, what do you think this thing meant? Like, what do you think that thing meant? Like, what's your interpretation? And because so often the show is like, this is the answer. Climate change, bad. And there's not really a discussion you can have about that. You're like, okay, yeah, garbage monsters are not good.
Yeah.
We don't want
We're
them.
there. Yeah.
We don't want them. We don't want the Earth to go kabloom like Krypton. We're with you there 100% of the way. But like here, I like that we can be like, well, what do you think this aspect of the dream meant? And like, yeah, I didn't even think about, her sister in the comics and that kind of aspect of like, and I like, where you can dig into, oh, maybe there's layers of meaning. And unfortunately, sometimes when Supergirl gets really heavy-handed, there's not layers of meaning. There's one meaning. It's the one where they're staring you in the face and telling you what the meaning is. And it's like, give us some credit. Like, some of this could be metaphor.
Yeah, I thought the Nia stuff has been really good. Like, I really like the Nia stuff. I really like the Nixley stuff, and some of the car stuff I think has been pretty good. So aside from the topicalness of some of these things, I think what they're doing character-wise with a lot of these people have been pretty good the last couple of episodes. So I guess just to kind of wind down our discussion of the episode, so we have seen progression for Kelly. There was a little bit of a story line for her in this episode where she's training with Alex and she's trying to learn this one move to be able to fight, and she's upset with herself because she can't get the one move down. So Morgan, what do you think about Kelly's current status on her way to the Guardian path? Is she getting there? Do you buy it yet?
I think she's getting there. I'm kind of, I think I said earlier that like I'm buying Kelly's progression to Guardian more than I ever did James, because I feel like with James, I felt like they had this character and they were like, okay, we've got James Olsen. What do we do with him? I don't know what we do with him. And then they just kind of kept
It's not like there's decades upon decades of Jimmy Olsen stories in the comics, like Turtle Boy Jimmy Olsen. Which, by the way, I don't have it with me, but I bought that issue at Dragon Con.
Yes,
I need to. Maybe that'll be a Patreon exclusive. But that actual issue was in a comic thing at the vendor area, and I was like, I don't care what it costs. I'm gonna buy it. So anyway,
give me that Turtle Boy. This is weirdly personally important to me. Don't ask why. No, but I felt like for so long that they were trying to figure out what do we do with Jimmy Olsen. And let's be honest, there's a little bit of that with Kelly too. Like they introduced her as like a therapist, and then they're like, now she's working IT support at a technology company for some reason. And like now she's like doing social work, which makes way more sense with her background than the other stuff ever did. But I feel like with her background, like the way that they're sort of easing her into this Guardian role makes more sense. And like, much like the Nia stuff, they've kind of pulled this line through the season, which is Kelly going, everybody else has powers, everybody else knows how to defend themselves. Like if my girlfriend goes around the corner with her alien gun going pew pew and I'm alone in here, I could die. I don't know how to defend myself. And so I thought that kind of built up into, maybe I want to defend other people, and like maybe I can use these like skills that I have, hacking from my IT days, and this the shield and costume and stuff that my brother sent along to me from wherever he is, and
Calvintown.
Calvintown.
I guess he's still in Calvintown.
You gotta assume he's turned that paper around by now, and he's put those newsboys to work. What if they like franchise the news kid Legion? It's just there's like one in every city now. It's like a McDonald's. But yeah, no, I think that the way that they've sort of they're slowly building her up is more enjoyable for me to watch, is more interesting for me to watch than the way that they did it with James, which was like one day his camera got crushed and the next day he was like out on the streets fighting crime, and there was like no middle ground where he was like, should I do this? I did laugh though when in the one episode where Alex was like, I've known about this since Crisis, and I was like, have you? Really? Like she's like, basically like, I've seen this coming. Like, how?
Well, there was that one random moment in Crisis where Kelly had the shield, and it was like, well, how did she have the shield? What?
I remember us having like a long discussion about like, well, where's that shield been and where does she keep it and how does she have it? But yeah, no, I like the way they've been building it up, honestly. I think that they've been doing a good job with it.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. I would never have thought that Kelly's Guardian storyline, her motivation to become Guardian, is actually more comic book accurate than what they did with James.
Right?
She's more, I think her look is going to end up being more of the Golden Guardian, but she is actually the Jim Harper Guardian from the comics, where he invests in these kids from the suicide slums. Like she's basically the Jim Harper Guardian, which that's like kind of blowing my mind, because I don't think people realize that's actually more comic book accurate for Guardian than what happened with James. Although James could have been more of like the Mal Duncan Guardian if they really wanted to get in there, but again, Hornblower's left out of the conversation.
My favorite one.
No, nobody cares about the Hornblower version.
I do.
I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was trying to remember if Mal Duncan is the Hornblower or not. But yeah, so there's several different Guardians, and I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to that Guardian Spotlight, because I'm trying to remember all those things off the top of my head. But it's refreshing to see that they're sort of subtly, I think, taking from the Guardian, and maybe they don't know it. Maybe they're just doing this because it's a story they want to tell, and they have no idea that this is actually more.
That would be really funny.
But to me, I think it's more Jim Harper Guardian. It's a reflection of the Jim Harper Guardian storyline. So I think that's really interesting to me. All right. Well, I guess we should wrap up our thoughts about what we thought about the season 6 episode Still I Rise. I guess before we get into feedback, Morgan, what are your kind of overall thoughts about this episode?
Yeah, I liked this one. I thought, listen, it was heavy-handed when she was trying to stop Amazon from coming over and taking that building, but I did like that they kind of used that heavy-handed storyline to say, like, hey, Supergirl's really good at some things, but also is like, maybe she's not the right tool for every problem, and sometimes, like, you can't just like hope speech your way out of it. I thought that was good, and I thought that they kind of like layered enough into that storyline that with the weird funny PSA and like the conversation with Brainy at the end, where she's like, oh, sometimes I can't just like come in and be like, hey guys, I'm Supergirl, don't do that, and like it doesn't work. And then I thought that the Kelly stuff was really solid, and I thought that the Nia stuff was really good too, and I liked the way that they brought Orlando and his relationship with the characters and with Joey, and like kind of continuing to build a national city that feels like it's populated by people who continue to exist after the episode ends. And so I liked all that stuff. I thought that the Nixley stuff was the highlight, though. Like, Nixley was scheming, she was chewing scenery, she was taking down buildings, she was freezing stuff. I love her. I think that, like, listen, she can do no wrong in my eyes. I hope that she stays around forever. And it was kind of like seeing a bunch of different aspects of like things that Supergirl does in one episode, and if we saw the thing that they do best, which is that last scene. That last scene is like where this show does a really good job, and where I wish it would kind of go more often, instead of like giving us gentrification 101 that doesn't really even get into
recidivism rates.
Of course, and we said those recidivism rates. But instead of doing that, like, why not like build a story around the comic book stuff that you come to Supergirl for. Like, you come to Supergirl for the comic book stuff. And I thought, like, gentrification bad. Yeah, we agree. But it's like, I don't, it's always so like high level. Like, did you know the sea has problems? It's like, yes, I did. I mean, yeah. And I'm sure, some people will watch it and think like, oh, I didn't know about that, or I didn't, I'm trying not to discount the fact that, like Supergirl, the show has a platform. We all know, but I do think that they're a little bit better at some things, and those things are like going going on the superhero comic book stuff, and when they find a good villain, like they had in like season 3 and season 2 and season 1, no offense, not trying to be sexist, but the female villains on this show are the best. and now and now we have this another great female villain, and like now I feel like things are gelling into place, things are clicking, and so it's weird. I don't know if it's the high of watching 3 episodes just back to back to back like that. I was like, oh god, so much Supergirl. But I feel like it kind of like at some point like your brain dulls and you're just like you can just kind of smooth over some of the things that don't work as well because you're just like, all right, I'm here for the ride. And I think that's one of the benefits of binge watching anything is I think like when you get a clunker, you're like, well, that one wasn't good. And you can hit play on like the next episode and you can just forget that you don't have a whole week to like think about like, but if the guns are bad, why does she have a gun? And and you just smoothly go into the next episode. And so maybe some of my contact high from this one is having watched 3 of them just back to back to back, one after the other, not even changing positions on the couch, just cat in the lap watching Supergirl. And so maybe I was just after 2 episodes, maybe I was just like, I'm along for this ride. So it's possible I'm just being too kind, but I thought that this one worked for me. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah. Nicole says Morgan was assaulted with social issues in the last 24 hours. Thank you for your service.
Climate change is bad. For-profit prisons, also bad. And recidivism rates. That's what I've learned a lot of things I already knew from these episodes.
Yeah, for me, most of this episode for me was horrific, and I didn't like it.
You didn't like the high school term paper on gentrification?
No, I thought the writing was mostly rough. But I did love the Nixley stuff, and I did really like the Nia stuff. And some of the stuff with Supergirl I really liked. So it was kind of up and down for me. I struggled to watch it, but there at the very end, I was like, okay, you got me. You got me. I mean, you already had me coming back for the next episode, but now I'm really excited about the next episode. I just hope they don't get rid of Nixley next week, and that's it for her, because I hope she sticks around.
That would be the worst possible thing.
Yeah, please let Nixley stay around, please. Okay, well, I guess that's going to do it for our thoughts, but let's find out what our listeners had to say about Still I Rise. And Morgan, will you do the honors of reading the tweets?
Of course. At CM Gutierrez, 74 said, the PSA to eat healthy in the beginning of the episode took me by surprise, and I laughed way too hard about it. And when Supergirl called for Mixie's help at the end, I could barely contain my excitement for next week's episode. Overall, I liked it. 8 out of 10. At Anthony Nia said, a solid episode with a great cliffhanger. My only question is, where is McGann? Wait, I'm sorry. I just need to stop reading this tweet and like just really think about it. Oh my God. Did they ever explain? Okay, I'm sorry. Anthony says, now AWOL for 7 episodes. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep going, but this is, I haven't thought of McGann in so long. I spent so much time thinking about Orlando. Haven't even considered McGann. I remembered Silas. I did not remember McGann. That's tough. Anthony said, when the Super Friends went to the Phantom Zone, Jean said she was patrolling, keeping National City safe. But that was weeks ago. The poor girl must be exhausted by now.
This is such a good point. What is going on with McGann?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know. I don't know where she is. I hope she's safe out there. Maybe Nixley cast a spell over McGann where nobody thought about her for weeks.
Nobody's even like mentioned her in the tower.
Every time they try to think about Magan, a new topical issue occurs to them. They're like, where is Magan? Oh my God, the private prison system is a nightmare. Oh, wow. That was okay.
Oh.
Well, I hope we find out soon. we miss you, Magan. Oh boy. At SL Fricky said, I really wish this show would put more effort into making the Earth-based alien citizens seem more alien. If not with prosthetics or CGI, then at least how they talked, how they dressed, hairstyles, tattoos, a multicolored sparkly headband, something. That's true. I mean, now they're basically just people with image inducers. Because of the budget. At tone_ring said, was part of this episode really about National City real estate? Have they truly been listening to Morgan? And I will say, yes and no, definitely no. But I would like to know more about their real estate market. Is this the only place where like commercial real estate is really booming? Is National City a place that is attacked once a year at least? Like, we need this building so that an alien can destroy it. We're gonna put so much what's it called? Insurance on it. We got this.
And it's not just attacked; it's invaded by aliens on a regular basis. So alien invasions, yes.
I don't feel like National City real estate would be hopping is the thing, but I'm always proven wrong, it turns out. And we must have at least one real estate agent listener, and they need to write in because it's really important to me personally. That we talk about what a bad market this would be for commercial real estate. I think that council member is really making a mistake here.
Mind the Gap says the final episode reveals every villain was in on a real estate scam.
Yes. I want the final episode. Like all the villains are actually in like a giant like MLM. They're all just trying to sell you leggings. Like, this one has Mickey Mouse on it. It's like, no, I won't join your private Facebook group. I'm sorry. At Kaya _Matsui said, and to think that Supergirl could have always been this way, a show about Kara and the citizens of National City. It's sad that they only realized it in the last episodes of the series. This was a nice episode. Nixley is a great villain. I miss Lena, though. I did too. At Valkyrie 88A, which is harder than I thought to say, said, I wish they had combined the last couple episodes into a more coherent arc. They felt like separate episodes built around a social issue of the day instead of a connected story that dealt with very important issues.
I wonder what they're going to tackle next week. They're going to tackle and solve next week.
We could have some idea if the CW had decided to cut a promo at any point since the show has come back, but the CW has just washed its hands with Supergirl in a way that I find personally pretty offensive as a person who's watched this show for 6 years. And then it comes to the end and I'm like, oh, what's going on next week? And then there's no promo and I'm like, is it off next week? No, it's not off. They just decided not to cut one because they don't care anymore.
That's actually true.
There's some medieval show on Friday. Would you like to watch it? I'm like, no, I don't. Well, I'm never gonna watch that out of spite now. Oh, brother. K Kyle 1 said, overall, I like the episode. It's just so dang preachy sometimes, but it had some cool effects, and I love how uncomfortable Kara is with being in that kind of spotlight. And seeing Mrs. Pillock again is awesome. At Kenny Crayley said, an okay episode of Supergirl, some good Supergirl Kara moments, even though her decision making was questionable. Nia's story was better this week. Also, some good Kelly Olsen moments too. I still think that this final season has been dragging on a bit. 2 out of 5 for this episode. And we have a tweet from would that be Jose or Josu?
Yeah, maybe Josu or Yosu.
Oh, yeah, maybe Yosu. A Rios 1994. I'm so bad at names.
Let us know if we got that wrong.
I definitely did. I've definitely mangled it. Let us know the correct pronunciation so the next time I won't mangle it so badly. They say, not that bad of an episode, but it's time to calm down on the social issues. Kara getting most of the screen time is always a plus. The ending was great and looking forward to next week. And then at Rachel Joy 23 said, every time I see the title, Still I Rise, the only thing I think of is this, the song Today We Rise from Gallivant.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, Rachel. The episode title, I believe, is taken from the poem Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. Should we do a reciting of the poem?
Oh boy, yeah, sure, why not?
Would you like me to do it, or
I would? I feel like I'm not. I don't know that I have a good like poetry voice. Like I could do the like, but I don't think that it's gonna help me. Yeah, snaps.
Yeah, okay. So I guess if we're just gonna lean into the title of the episode, this is Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hoping springing high, still I'll rise. Do you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. And this one is really funny. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise? Maya Angelou's talking about her sexiness. It's very interesting to me. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Oh, this is a little too much for this podcast.
Oh my goodness, Maya Angelou.
Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. And that's Still I Rise by Maya Angelou.
Can I just say, you have to have some, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a healthy ego to name your episode after one of the great Maya Angelou's poems. One of the most well-known ones, too.
Yes,
Maya Angelou, pretty well-known, prolific, and well-respected, like one of the greats.
One of the greats.
You're like, just like this episode of Supergirl. Listen, I gotta appreciate the moxie. You're like, you're like this one's going down in the history books. This one's just like Maya. Okay.
Well, I guess it gave us a chance to read that wonderful poem from Maya Angelou. So there is that, if you had never read it before. All right. Well, we have an email from Daryl who writes, quote, Kara is definitely mentoring Nia. She has her same naivety. They are only now realizing Nia's struggle, which should have already come. The problem is that they're doing it now in the final season. I'm so glad that Andrea is played by someone so beautiful, because her dialogue is awful. That PSA was also awful. It made me long for the days when Kara was doing commercials for Lex Luthor's DEO. If James had done the training Kelly is doing, I might have supported him as Guardian more. Kelly has value, and I hate that the writers aren't letting her see it. She proved it last week, yet they still make her think she has to become Guardian to make a real difference. Kelly would make a kick-butt therapist, but I guess the writers don't see the value in that, unquote. And I think Daryl has a good point about Kelly. Yeah. Maybe Kelly could have been more involved in the whole Orlando Joey's storyline. I feel like Kara and Kelly could have maybe been more as a team on that front.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's been some instances where it feels like Kelly would have actually like worked in the story and served it well, and they just kind of missed it. You know, like Kara having a lot of trauma from her experience in the Phantom Zone, and Kelly maybe dealing specifically in, you know, PTSD and trauma response and not having any conversations with her at all is a weird choice, I will say.
A missed opportunity, I think. Yeah.
It feels a little bit like a missed opportunity. I don't know. So Julia wrote in to say, a good episode for Nia. She made an understandable choice with unforeseen consequences that created a great opportunity for character development. She's a young hero who makes mistakes and is learning how to be a better hero from them. I hope. I'm really excited to see her do more on the show. It's also nice to see them set up the seeds to address Nia's strained relationship with her sister, as it was a thread left dangling since season 4. Nixley is shaping up to be a cunning, formidable villain. The Super Friends do not lack in power in their team up, but they do get outmaneuvered. It'll make for a much more interesting conflict instead of punching or laser beaming their way out of problems. It was a little surprising that the whole team went into a structurally unsound building without a clear evacuation plan, as it makes them look a little clumsy and inexperienced, but oh well. It's best not to think too hard about it. Watching Kara get repeatedly embarrassed about the Eat Your Greens PSA was fun to watch. It's small in the episode, but moments like that make the characters feel less like cartoon caricatures. I think Jesse Rath's Brainy is fun to watch because he's great at this and has lots of opportunities to showcase his not-so-heroic side. See stress eating, getting too drunk at a party, habitually oversharing, etc. Overall, it was a fun episode to watch that reminded me a little of seasons 1 and 2 in a good way, of course. I'm looking forward to the next one. P.S. I'm unable to watch the live stream now due to a time zone change, but I'll watch them on YouTube and probably send in emails like this one instead. Love the show. I'll miss hanging out with everyone.
Oh, well, we are certainly going to miss you in the live chat, Julia, but our schedule is probably going to be shifty for the next, we'll probably be on Wednesday nights until the end of the show's run, and then maybe we'll go back to Tuesdays. I don't know. So I don't know if that's going to benefit you at all, but hopefully you'll still be able to join us in sharing your thoughts, even though you can't be with us. But thank you for writing in.
Personally, I blame the CW for scheduling against us and making us give up our Tuesday time slot.
We're definitely here first.
Standing Tuesday time slot.
We'll get back there eventually. I feel like odds are in our favor. Well, Irmgard sent us an email writing, quote, "This week's episode was Gun Control episode 2.0. Well, at least in this episode, they gave the other side a chance to voice their opinion. I think they kind of did that in the Gun Control episode with like one scene with Lena, and that was it. In the Gun Control episode, we only saw it from one side, not all sides. That being said, Orlando's speech was great. Kara's not so much. Now for the good parts. I think Nia will have to have a talk with her sister. No matter the outcome, only then will she fully master her dream powers. Those ravens need to get her out of her dreams." Oh, so that's how Irmgard's interpreting that. And Irmgard also asks, "What can I say about dancing? Loved Alex teaching Kelly how to fight, but she is actually way more advanced in fighting skills than when Kara was training with Alex, when she started training with Alex." Irmgard also thinks that Nixley is a great villain. I'm glad everybody seems to love Nixley. That makes me happy.
The best.
Irmgard also finishes out saying, "It was great to find out from Jesse that Jesse Rath that he improvised the 'don't sit in my chair' line." And Irmgard also says this is the second episode that featured Martian Manhunter holding up a wall. I do believe it has something to do with David Harewood hurting his foot during production and having to wear a boot. Thinking of it, he is not doing so much walking in the last 2 episodes so far, unquote. So, so if we don't see Martian Manhunter in a lot of action scenes, it's probably because at this time, when they were shooting it, he was injured. So that's a good thought.
I kind of hope they start to lean into it and they're like, okay, Kara, you go fight this villain. Nia, you go fight that villain. Jean, you go sit in that chair really hard and keep it on the earth. And he's like, yes, I got it. There's just always some reason for him to like lean against a wall casually or something. So what we need you to do is keep up the structural integrity of this wall, Jean.
Somebody's got to do it.
I love it. Omi wrote in to say, the latest episode of Supergirl made me feel like I was watching a PSA where someone has to explain to me the social issue because apparently we live under a rock. While Supergirl writers forget the majority of the viewers who watch Supergirl knows about social injustice. Everyone knows when Supergirl is handling an issue, they can never be subtle. But Supergirl's writers treat us like idiots who can't understand the message they're sending. They have to explain why something is bad instead of showing the consequences consequences of other people's actions and then letting us come to our own conclusions. They spent time having speeches for getting character development and story progression. I would have enjoyed Kelly's story more if it was you can be a superhero without a cape, or become a vigilante. Now the message is for Kelly not to feel weak. She should be a vigilante. By being a social worker, you can help people in the community by letting their voices be heard. It's true. Like Kelly is in many ways already a superhero for, her work that she's doing. But now it's like, now she's going to take the next step and don a shiny gold suit. So now she's legit.
Yeah, now she's really a hero.
Because they can't just let anybody just be a normal person on this show. Like Alex needed to be a superhero with blue eyeshadow and a hood, and like just nobody's normal. Like they could have just had Alex and Kelly just be cool, and like Alex was already kicking butt without the outfit.
Yeah, I think it would be perfectly fine to just have like human characters who are awesome.
It would have been okay.
It would have been fine. But I guess we'll see how things go for Kelly and Guardian, and see how that happens when she makes her full superhero debut. See if she's ready for it. Well, I think our last bit of feedback is actually through a voicemail. So let's see what that has to say.
Hello, this is Mark HBPWM. Must be a fifth dimensional name. By now, I'm sure you've heard Supergirl and Brainiac 5 talking about the value of eating greens. But as a middle-aged man with a sedentary job, I'd like to take a moment to sing the praises of donuts. Donuts are great for bursts of quick energy, and some of them even contain fruit, such as apple compote, strawberry jam, or blueberry cake. This time of year, some of them even contain vegetables like pumpkin. And they don't typically bring the unwanted, embarrassing side effects that you get with broccoli. So, by all means, eat those greens, but don't rush to cancel the donuts. And if you see one filled with raspberry jelly, save that one for me.
I think I am the only one who appreciated the PSA for actually sharing healthy eating habits, because for so long on Supergirl, I have been agitated with Supergirl eating donuts all the time and setting a bad example for people. Because if you like I do look at articles that, like, if I do an internet search of what foods cause cancer, donuts are at the top of the list. So donuts, super bad for you. Wonderfully, tasty, of course. But
donuts are sometimes food, as Cookie Monster would say.
But not great for you. Broccoli and greens, much better for you. Brainy is right on that. So I'm actually glad. And I was kind of mad at Supergirl because she was acting like she was, I guess she was embarrassed of the PSA because she didn't like how they did it, I guess. But I was actually kind of mad at Kara that she didn't want to stand by the, eat your greens and have a healthy lifestyle. That actually made me mad at Kara. If I'm gonna be honest, that kind of made me mad at her.
What do you have against broccoli, Kara?
Yeah, I know Kryptonians don't have to deal with the healthy eating and keeping your body from deteriorating much faster. I guess Kryptonians don't have to deal with that, but we have to deal with that. Humans have to deal with that. So I was kind of agitated with Kara for not being happy about healthy eating. But Mark does make a strong case for donuts. So I will give him
and I definitely didn't have any kind of pumpkin donut today. In fact, it's not. I woke up and I rolled over and I immediately started in on my broccoli. Didn't. I had my first pumpkin product of the season today. It was great. I was like, my season begins.
I definitely did eat a donut at Dragon Con, so I can't say that I've never eaten them. I think I might eat one a year, which is pretty good for me. But yeah, donuts are I try to stay away from them. So so I really I just want to let people know. I find a moderation on donuts. Please.
I find most donuts to be pretty medium, actually. However, I will say that there is a Federal Donuts, and I should have told you this, Rebecca. There's like a Federal Donuts like across the street from our wedding hotel, and Federal Donuts in Philadelphia makes the best donuts. And so like my only request, I was like, the morning I'm getting married, the only thing I want, you have to get me Federal Donuts. Like, I have to start the day right with all the food groups, every type of donut from Federal Donuts.
Well, I was that nerd who walked across the street to the market and bought a carrot ginger juice. I think it was a carrot celery juice. So, I'm trying to, I have a lot of problems, so I need to be as healthy as possible. So.
Start the day out right. We, in our own ways, we both started the day out right.
Well, I guess we should get to an email that Mark also sent because he wrote in saying, quote, "Morgan, welcome back. I hope all your loved ones made it safely through the storms." And I guess if you want to take good. I guess we could take it because we kind of started the episode with all of catching up on the episode. We didn't talk about the fact that you got married, and
I did.
things are new and different. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about that with the listeners, but
sure.
But Morgan did get married, so congratulations to you and Mike.
Why, thank you. It was a great day. We all had a good time. There were a lot of familiar faces. If you listen to my podcast at the wedding, Rebecca was there. Kat and Amy were there. Good times were had by all.
Sarah was there.
Sarah officiated the ceremony, in fact, and she did a great job.
She did do a good job.
It's so funny. Before we were like, oh, I bet we're gonna have so much fun at the reception. I bet that's going to be our favorite part. Like after the wedding, we were like, was your favorite part the ceremony too? Like the ceremony was so good. Yeah, we had a great day, and we didn't get rained out, which was a little touch and go at one point. And it was really fun. And I enjoyed that I got to put Rebecca at the what I call the ringer table. It was one of our best tables. So we had Rebecca there. We had Kat and Amy. We had we had Andrea Towers also, who's been on this podcast.
He's been on Supergirl Radio. Yeah.
Just a lot of friends of the pod at that table.
That was a really good table. I wouldn't have wanted to be on any other table than that one. That was really good. And I just I don't want to spoil the wedding ceremony, but I don't think it would come to anybody's surprise. My pleasant surprise of the wedding ceremony, and it shouldn't have been a surprise, but when you all got to the vows, Morgan's vows were so funny, and it should not have surprised anyone. I don't know why it surprised me, but I was just like, yeah, this feels right. This is right. Like they were really sweet, but it had like the Morgan Glennon witty touch to it, which I enjoyed.
We made sure that we didn't read each other's vows because we wanted those to be a surprise, but we did both send them to Sarah, and I became concerned because his word count was higher than mine, and I knew that. And I was like, I must win the vows. And so the way a healthy marriage always starts. And so I messaged Sarah, and I was like, are the vows very different? Because if I need to workshop these, like, did I go too hard on the jokes? Like, did I, instead of making vows, am I just doing a tight 5? Like, I don't want to do that. And she was like, no, actually, there's a lot of synergy between the vows, and you should not change anything. And I was like, okay, good. And then everybody, 5 people independently, mentioned the one time that Mike wore business casual to a pumpkin patch, which is my favorite part of the wedding. Is just every single person mentioned it in the speeches, to the point where his best man was like, I was gonna mention how much Mike wore business casual, but I feel like we've established that quite. So we're gonna move on. So that was really funny. I was like, we all just thought to mention it. I will say, I just thinking about a fun Supergirl Radio tidbit is that my maid of honor actually worked some sound into her her speech, which is great. I think she recorded it, so at some point I'm going to post it because it's incredible. But she started out with it being like a podcast, like a true crime murder podcast, and she played the serial music in the background, and she did like the podcast voice, and then she like started to interview Sarah, and then she pulled the mic away and was like, "We'll never know." And then after like that portion of the speech, she transitioned into like a very superhero centric portion of the speech, and she played the Supergirl theme, like the background music in the background. I don't know if you noticed that, Rebecca.
Yes, it was the theme song to the TV show.
It was. I was like, is that Supergirl? At one point she mentioned something. It was like something about like Wakanda, like vibranium or something. And I looked around and I saw all the older people in there, like, what is happening? and she goes, we all know what I'm talking about, right? It was fantastic. It was like the I'm biased, but it was the best maid of honor speech I've ever heard.
It was pretty good. I thought the whole wedding was very sweet. So I was honored to be there, and I was grateful to get to meet you and Mike in person and get to see all the the legendary ladies and to see Sarah, and I had done some things with Andrea Towers. It was really fun to be around everybody. We should do that more often.
We should. I was saying to like my guys, I was like, listen, we did a really good job with our seating chart, but this one table is phenomenal. The ties that everyone has to each other is just so like everyone knows each other.
It was great. Well, I'm glad it was successful, and it looked like you all had fun on your honeymoon. Don't want to make the whole podcast about like your honeymoon, but I'm glad that you had it seemed like y'all had a good time.
We did have a good time, and to Mark's point, everybody was fine. We did find out on our honeymoon as we were like just floating in the pool, and we're getting like the group text is blowing up, and I'm like, what's going on? There's a tornado in New Jersey. So that was a fun. I had to call my mom and be like, Mom, is a twister taking you guys away? And she was like, oh yeah, we're in the basement with Ralphie, which is my mom's dog. Aww. And I was like, oh no, oh my God. But yeah, it's our area got hit a little bit hard. Like roads were flooded, and like up in by New Brunswick in New Jersey, it was like all the roads were flooded. Like it hit some areas really bad, like took down like whole houses, which is not a normal thing that happens here, like at all. So if Cara could go punch some more garbage monsters for us and like really fix this climate change thing, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but it sounds like all of your family at least made it out of it okay. So that's good. Whew, that's
crazy weather here.
yeah, there was a lot of rain and bad storms around that time. But on a personal level, for me, DragonCon was beautiful. So we'll maybe talk about that a little bit later. but yeah, so it was kind of a weird couple of weeks there. The weather was very bad. But it seems to have gone past us now, I guess. Well, Mark did have some more things to say. He said, quote, when Nixley told Nia that she'd have to be bottled up with her mom for 24 hours, I was scared that with as few episodes as we have left, they'd burn another one on a bottle episode with no Cara. Fortunately, I was wrong, and that wasn't the case. Mark ends his email saying, I did enjoy the main Cara plot, although I can see myself getting bored with the whole freed prisoners being treated unfairly storyline, and the Eat Your Greens PSA was hilarious. I foresee a follow-up where they extol the virtues of hand washing, unquote. So maybe that's going to be an episode here on down the line, is we'll get some maybe a COVID something or other. I feel like why not at this point? Just get into it.
It seems likely. So before we wrap up our feedback, I think we need to make some snap judgments.
In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with two options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
I feel like I'm going to be rusty because it's been so long.
It has been a while.
Been a while, but all right, let's get to it. First one is from Mark. Better villain. evil city councilor, Nixley, or intergang terrorists?
This is not even a question. It's definitely Nixley. Intergang did almost nothing, and the evil councilwoman was just doing what she thought was best for her city. So I'm going Nixley.
We should, she had been working on that for several years.
I mean, that was her job. That's what she was doing.
I mean, I felt a little bit bad for her. Like, Supergirl just parachuted in one day before the vote and was like, "Have you considered this?" Where were you at the other city council meetings, Kara? Maybe you should get more involved. And I think that is the true lesson. As I take this Tide stick as a pointer, is that you should get more involved on the local level, Kara. That's where you can affect change. But that PSA aside, Nixley is obviously the best villain. So we have 2 from @Kaya_Matsui. Would you rather be locked in an ice cage forever or locked in a cell full of ravens forever?
I get cold really easily, and I don't like being cold at all. I guess nobody really likes being cold, but I definitely don't like being cold. So I don't want to be in an ice cage forever. So I'm gonna hang out with the ravens. I'm gonna take my chance with the ravens and see what happens. I like birds. I'm a birder, so I think ravens and I could maybe get along.
Rebecca's just got those little binoculars and she's like, "It's another raven." I think the raven is the clear winner, because it doesn't say in this that the ravens are always going to be aggressive. At some point, the ravens are going to get used to you. You're going to get used to the ravens, and now you have friends, and they're birds, and that sounds fantastic to me. So I mean, I don't see the downside on that one. So I think it's obviously ravens.
Yeah.
Okay,
and I just want to clarify something for Andy. He wonders if birder is a term.
It is.
Birder is a term. Birding is the active activity of going out and looking for birds. So it's kind of pretty simple. If you're a birder, you like to look for birds.
Yeah, you just kind of wander around. Fun fact, I bought the book of, and I'm going to forget what his name is, but he played Fitz in Pretty Little Liars. I think it's Ian something. And it turns out he is an avid birder. And half the book was I went into these woods because I heard about this rare bird that was going to be there. And I was like, oh gosh, he's such a nerd. I like him so much now. So in case you were ever wondering,
birders are really smart people. The birds I know wingspan, they can spot a bird, but based on wingspan, based on sounds, based on colors. I can't hang with those people. I just like pretty birds, but I can't hang with the people who are like, yeah, the wingspan is so big. I can't see it with my naked eye, but I can see that the wing. I'm like, what? How do you know that? So those people, do not underestimate them. They're very smart.
And I feel like they're pretty active too, because it feels like it's a lot of hiking, just hiking around, looking at birds. And I wouldn't cross those people. They can hike and they can get wingspan. They can figure out wingspan. Who knows what else they can do? Okay, Kaya asks, if you could have one of these characters on the show back for a day, who would you pick? Queen Rhea or Aunt Astra?
That is really that's a Sophie's choice for me.
It really is.
I loved both of them. I guess maybe. Do you have an answer, Morgan? Because I'm kind of stuck.
This is a really tough one. Okay, so I feel like this season, Astra might be great because.
That's a good way to look at it.
We bring back Zor-El, and then there's there's tension there. They're mad at each other, and Zor-El's back, and Jason Bear's back, and he's wearing that outfit again. So, so I'm gonna go Astra.
I think that's a good way to look at it because Astra would have more story in season 6, whereas Queen Rhea, she would be fun to have back, and I love Terry Hatcher, but what would she be doing? Although, what if you could do a Queen Rhea Nixley team up? I would be really into that.
That would be good.
But I guess if we had to make a snap judgment, I'm with you. I think Astra is probably the right choice here.
Okay, so we have a snap judgment from Anna. It's long, and let's just prepare ourselves. I've missed you, Anna. I hope you've been well. Okay. Morgan, what would you rather have happened during your wedding? All right, this is interesting. I can't wait to see where this is going. A fifth dimensional imp appears during the reception and turns all your wedding guests besides Rebecca into toddlers for an hour, and you are in charge of keeping them entertained and safe until the spell ends. Or pirates appear from the water right before you say I do with the sole mission of kidnapping your groom, and you and the other guests have to fight with swords to save him and save the wedding. Oh, geez. Well, that is a tough choice, I have to say.
I need some clarification. So am I not turned into a toddler? So
no, you're not. You're not.
So is it you and me taking care of these toddlers for an hour?
I think so. Yeah, I think we both have to take care of like 100 toddlers for an hour.
That's a lot of toddlers.
It's a lot of toddlers. It's a lot of toddlers. The tent flaps were open all night, so we're gonna have to like kind of corral them in somehow.
Yeah, and your reception was near, and your ceremony was near water.
It was near the Delaware River. We don't want any toddlers just kind of hobbling over there.
I would be worried they would get into the water somehow. And I don't know if putting them in the house. Well, I mean, I guess you probably put them in
that
there.
historic mansion though.
Yeah, they had like priceless pieces of art.
They did. There was a Monet upstairs. What if a toddler gets up there? I think we got to go pirates, Rebecca.
I think we have to go. That would be way more fun. The toddlers, I mean, it's only for an hour, so maybe you could tough it out for an hour. But I think the pirate thing would be way more fun.
I think
it would be dangerous for Mike, though.
It would be dangerous for Mike, but like I get to save him at the end, and then that's pretty fun for a wedding. Like that's like, look at, I'm the best wife already.
You could do sword fighting.
I could do that thing where they hang on a thing and they come down.
Yeah,
Tarzan style. I could do one of those.
Yeah,
I feel like I've watched a lot of Supergirl, a lot of Legends. I've picked up some moves, and despite the fact that I have no upper body strength, I have swords in this scenario. And so I feel like I think we could take the pirates, Rebecca, is the thing.
Am I
all fighting? I think we're all fighting the pirates. And I think, listen, my reception was a scrappy bunch, so I think that we could take them.
Oh yeah, no question about it. I think everyone at that wedding could take on some pirates and save Mike. I think we could do it. That's probably, if I was going to make, I think this was addressed solely for you. But if I was going to make a choice,
you were there too. This is an experience you'd have to have.
So I would probably choose pirates as well. And I think we would definitely save Mike in the end.
Of course.
And that would be a great way to start your wedded bliss is pirate rescue on the high seas.
I mean, the pictures would have been incredible.
Would the photographers come with us? I guess. I
don't think that they would have helped, but they would have captured all the magic.
That would have been a sight. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up on Snap Judgments and finish up the live stream. No judgments on your Snap Judgments. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio, discussing the Supergirl Season 6 episode titled Still I Rise. And I think at this point in the Supergirl Radio episode, we do need to get to some plugs. We have both DCTV podcast plugs and Supergirl Radio plugs. So we will get to those, and you can learn more about how to keep in touch with us. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast Network, so if you also like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Titans, Doom Patrol, Batwoman, Stargirl, Superman and Lois, and the upcoming Green Lantern, Justice League Dark, and Strange Adventure shows, and DC TV After Dark, you can subscribe to the DC TV Podcast Mega Feed on Apple Podcasts. Follow at DC TV Podcasts on Twitter, and like DC TV Podcasts on Facebook, or else. This has been a message from Hope, inhabiting the Flash vessel, also known as New Rachel.
Always great.
Would you like to tell people, Morgan, about the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store?
Oh boy, I would love to. Speaking of the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store, we've got some designs that tie into the episode, like Dreamer and the Ravens and Supergirl eating donuts. So, got some good stuff.
Yeah, so if you're interested in that PSA or the dreams that Dreamer was experiencing, looks like the Ravens are a thing on some mugs or T-shirts or whatever you want to get. So definitely check out the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store and get you some Supergirl stuff. Well, we would like to thank our legion of super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. Those folks are Michael, Sam, Anne-Marie, Grout, Yvonne, Quinn, Jessica, Nicola, Leslie, Susan, Abby, Irmgard, Miriam, Cherie, Donna, Nicole, Lizette, Deb, and I think Ziwihung Xiao and Anna. And I guess I should mention that we might, I don't want to tease it too much just in case things fall through, but if you've ever, say, wanted Anna on the podcast, that may be happening next week. So just put a little, the CW might not be teasing Supergirl episodes, but we're going to be teasing Supergirl Radio episodes. So we may get some Anna next week. And if you would like to become a Supergirl Radio Patreon supporter, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. We have 4 different monthly levels, and it just gets you some extra behind the scenes Supergirl Radio goodness. So that's, you're going to get your regular, free Supergirl Radio episodes like you're used to and like you like it. But if you just want some extra Supergirl Radio, that is what the Patreon is for. So thank you to everybody who has been supporting us through the podcast, through the Patreon. I didn't say that right. Supporting us. Supporting the podcast through the Patreon is what
through
I meant.
Patreon.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're supporting the podcast, great. If they're supporting the Patreon, great. If they're supporting the podcast through the Patreon, even better. And as a reminder, we're still running our Flat Supergirl photography contest. And to enter, you download and print Flat Supergirl, which you can find in the video description of this live stream, in the show notes of the audio podcast, or at the right-hand side of supergirlradio.com. You just cut out Flat Supergirl, and then you attach her with some tape or glue to a popsicle stick, a pen, or a pencil, and then take a creative picture with Flat Supergirl. It could be whatever you want. It could be whatever Supergirl wants. You should ask her what she wants to do. You both can find your bliss together is the point. But make sure that you take a picture, because that is important, because you're going to want to post that picture, as many as you like, to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and tag at Supergirl Radio, and use the hashtag Supergirl Adventures. Now, I have said before, I have said many times that you have almost an infinite amount of time to do this, but now we know that's not true. and that you will have until Supergirl ends, which is sometime in mid-November.
Is it November 9th? I'll have to dig that up, and we'll do that in a news section for next week. But I want to say it's like early November. So you only have a few more months left.
So here are some things that Supergirl could do with you.
Oh, this is good. Suggestions.
Yeah, suggestions. Haunted hayride.
Oh.
Apple picking.
Oh.
Get her to pick the apples at the top of the tree. She can fly. Pumpkin picking. She's only made of paper, so try to remember that when you ask her to lift the pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally, I would love it if you took Supergirl with you through a haunted house.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And then got one of the performers in makeup to take a picture with Supergirl. Now I know that this is a pretty tall ask. But it would be amazing.
The scarier, the better.
The scarier, the better. If Supergirl maybe has some little fangs on, I don't know what she wants to do. You
she
ask
could dress
her.
up. She could be in costume.
Yeah, maybe Supergirl wants to go out with you for Halloween. That'll be normal, and no one will be creeped out by it. Take her with you. But make sure you get those pictures in before mid-November.
I was so mad at myself because at Dragon Con, I met Laura Vandervoort. This is actually the third time I've met her. She probably has no recollection of the other two times, which I'm fine with. I understand she meets a lot of people. But this was the second time I've gotten my picture made with her. But I went down to go see her. They have this area called the Walk of Fame. And I'm so mad at myself. I had a flat Supergirl with me at Dragon Con. And I should have used flat Supergirl with the picture with Laura Vandervoort. I should have had Laura Vandervoort like holding flat Supergirl, and I goofed up the picture. So I did take a picture with flat Supergirl at Dragon Con when I did the Supergirl panel, but I really should have done flat Supergirl with Supergirl. I'm so like it when I'm 90 years old in the old folks home, they're gonna be like, Rebecca, do you have any regrets about your life? And I'm gonna be like, I have one regret. I didn't use flat Supergirl in that picture with Laura Vandervoort at Dragon Con in 2021.
I had flat Supergirl, but I forgot her. Yeah, I had meant to print out flat Supergirl, kind of just take flat Supergirl through the wedding with me. No. I wanted to take a selfie with the dress with the flat Supergirl. I thought that would have been funny, and then I forgot completely. And then I was like, what I'll do is I'll just take flat Supergirl on the honeymoon. That'll be fun. Like, Supergirl in Mexico, and I forgot her there too. So flat Supergirl
it's really for the best.
I'm gonna have to take
had
her
other
to
things
pumpkin
going on.
patch now, and so make it up to her and tell her I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should have taken her with you places, but I
she
think
could
she'll
have
be
gone
okay.
to Mexico. She could have been in the swim up room. Oops.
Yeah, I actually had several different opportunities to use flat Supergirl. I met Tom Welling and Tyler Hoechlin and Sam Witwer. So I just really goofed it up. I didn't use flat Supergirl in any of those pictures. So that's on me. So I'll have to make it up to myself in that regard at some point. But yeah, so definitely get your pictures in of flat Supergirl. Well, you can find me on the interwebs. I'm on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I do have more Dragon Con pictures there if you're interested in that. You can check me out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/DuckMilkProd. I'm going to be getting back into my Batman v Superman reviews this upcoming Sunday. 4 p.m. Eastern is when I do those live streams. So definitely check them out. And if you'd like to hear my panels from Dragon Con, I did 2 of them. They're now in the Supergirl Radio podcast feed. They're also on the DCTV podcast YouTube channel, so you can actually see the video of them, which you can't really see our smiling faces because we have masks on while we're talking, but you can see the video of that. So you can either listen to them on supergirlradio.com or in the podcast feed, or you can watch the video on the DCTV podcast YouTube channel. I did 2. I did Supergirl, The Final Flight, which is basically talking about the final season. I basically was like an emergency moderator. Like the moderator didn't show up. So I was like, I guess I could do it. And then I did a Superman panel where we had a battle royale of the Supermen and sort of picked our favorites in different categories. So that was really actually very fun. So all good panels. So if you're interested, definitely check them out.
Those sounds fun. I can't wait to watch those. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic, and you can also find me as a host on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast. We are currently planning our sort of like end of the season wrap up because we all had vacations and marriages and things like that. I unfortunately took Kat and Amy away from their lives to be at my wedding, so that kind of threw the whole schedule off. So we need to regroup to talk about the finale and like the last episodes of the season, and then I'm sure we'll do our Harry Potter rating system of the season in general. Then we'll have like a week off, and then it'll start again. For the next season will start almost immediately, which is fun for us.
That is so wild.
Fun for us. Yeah, it's crazy. There's going to be like no break at all. It's like season 6 stops, season 7 begins.
That is nuts. Well, looking forward to all of that because I do listen to the podcast. I don't watch the show at all, but I do listen to the podcast. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And remember, if you're willing to face them, your dreams will give you everything you need.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because her outfit.
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.